In the antiseptic glare of the Los Angeles Memorial Trauma Ward, the atmosphere crackled with tension as monitors beeped insistently and nurses hurried past with 4 poles and crash carts. Finn Finnegan, just hours removed from the chaos of Luna Nozawa's cliffside shooting spree, stood at the edge of his wife Steffi's empty gurney, mind a storm of anguish and barely contained fury. His mother, Lee Finnegan, loomed beside him in a crisp designer suit that somehow made her austerity seem even colder, her arms folded and her lips a razor-thin line as she surveyed the stark corridor. Finn's pulse raced not only with grief for the daughter he and Steffi had lost, but with the fresh, raw wound of betrayal at his mother's words. "Believe me, Finn, all of this would be so much easier if Luna simply didn't exist." The casual cruelty of her statement hung in the air like a poison mist, and Finn felt the world tilt on its axis as the nurse rolled in a stretcher bearing Luna herself, handcuffed and wounded. Her wild eyes flicking between Finn's face and his mother's with a mixture of fear and accusation. Lee's tone had been surgical in its detachment, as though discussing a malignant tumor rather than her own granddaughter. "She's done nothing but bring danger into our lives. If she were gone, you could focus on your practice and on rebuilding what Steffi and I worked so hard to protect." In that moment, Finn felt the crushing weight of conflicting duties pressing down on him. As a son, loyalty to his mother's cold logic had been ingrained since childhood. Lee, a formidable woman with a will of steel, had shaped his career and his values, teaching him that family meant preserving the strong and discarding the weak. As a doctor, however, Finn's oath bound him to preserve life at all costs, to treat even the most reviled patient with compassion and care. Yet as he watched the stretcher roll to a halt at the end of the hall, Finn saw the face of the woman who had once captured his pity and devotion, whose mental collapse had driven her to violence, yet had never dimmed the glimmer of humanity he still believed flickered within her. Finn closed his eyes and heard his mother's words echoing in his skull. Easier if Luna didn't exist. Suddenly the choice seemed as plain as it was terrifying. Let Luna live and risk further carnage, or grant Lee's unspoken wish and end Luna's existence once and for all. Without a word, Finn strode purposefully down the corridor, crowding past nurses and security guards who had grown accustomed to his arrival in the aftermath of every crisis. He reached the private room where Luna had been secured. Her wrists shackled to the bed rail, her breathing ragged from bullet wounds and sedatives. A single young guard stood at the door, a trainee whose wide eyes betrayed his terror, and Finn offered him a curt nod. "I need to speak with her alone," Finn said in a voice that brooked no argument. The guard hesitated, glancing down the corridor at the pale figure of Lee standing with arms crossed, and then stepped aside with a shaken gesture. As Finn entered, the door clicked shut behind him, sealing them in a chamber bathed in stark white light and punctuated by the low hiss of the ventilator keeping Luna's fragile lungs afloat. Luna's head lolled on the pillow, dark hair matted with sweat and antiseptic, her eyes half open and glassy as Finn approached. Guilt warred with duty in his chest. He placed a gloved hand on the bed rail and forced himself to meet her gaze. "Luna," he whispered, voice trembling with restraint, "you're safe here. The police will decide your fate. But you have to understand, my mother, your grandmother, believes things would be easier if you were gone." Luna's lips parted in a gasp of betrayal and fear, and she croaked, "Finn, please, don't." Her voice trailed into a wheeze as she tried to sit up, restrained by the straps that cut into her wrists. Finn's heart twisted at her plea. She was terrified, wounded, alone. And the first spark of doubt flared in his chest. But then a swell of righteous anger rose, fueled by memories of Steffi's last moments, pinned in that studio, eyes full of terror as Luna's gun wavered on her shoulder. Finn clenched his jaw, recalling his own wild leap to shield Steffi, the searing pain as he took the bullet for her, the sight of Steffi collapsing at his side, the image of Luna's face contorted with despair. In an instant of ruthless clarity, Finn convinced himself that Luna's life, already a tapestry of violence and broken trust, had reached its moral terminus. If he did not act, Luna might kill again. If he did, he would protect all those he loved. He glanced at the small tray beside the bed, a pair of scissors, blood, tinged and discarded during wound care. The hospital staff had forgotten to lock up the instrument, confident that Luna was too wounded to reach it. Finn's decision crystallized. He would confront Luna's threat not with counsel or sedation, but with decisive action. He stepped quietly to the foot of the bed, where Luna's legs were cocooned in white bandages, her breathing shallow. Her eyes opened wider as she saw Finn reach for the scissors, and panic flared in her gaze. "No, Finn," she rasped. His voice was low, steady, devoid of the tremor she had begged him to suppress. "I'm sorry, Luna. I can't risk another life." In one smooth motion, Finn crouched behind the bed, pressed the open blades to the soft flesh of Luna's neck, and pulled, severing the carotid artery with a sickening precision that belied his years of surgical training. Luna's scream tore through the room, a wild, fractured sound that reverberated off the sterile walls as her eyes rolled back and her body convulsed against the straps. Finn held the scissors for a heartbeat longer, watching the life drain from the woman he once sought to heal, and then dropped them to the floor with a hollow clatter. He pressed a trembling hand to her neck, expecting the gush of blood, but Luna's body went limp, the rise and fall of her chest stilled. He rose slowly, dazed, his white coat stained with a thin smear of crimson, and backed toward the door as he heard the guard's alarmed shout. "Dr. Finnegan, what have you done?" Down the hallway, Lee's heels clicked on the linoleum as she followed the guard's panicked voice, arriving just in time to witness Finn's ashen face and the sight of Luna's still form sprawled atop the bed. The guard stumbled backward. Lee's eyes narrowed in cold triumph, lips curving into a smile as she realized her darkest wish had been granted by her own son. Finn, chest heaving, met his mother's gaze and saw not horror but vindication. Even in that moment, a flicker of doubt pierced him. Had he really done the right thing? But Lee reached out and clasped his arm, her grip iron, strong. "You did what needed to be done," she whispered. "Now we can move on." News of Luna's death at the hands of Dr. Finn Finnegan exploded through the hospital's PA system and reverberated across Los Angeles with the force of a tremor. Medical staff froze in shock, security swarmed the ward, and Finn was confronted by detectives demanding to know what had happened. Ridge, Taylor, Hope, even Little Hayes, all converged on the emergency wing as word spread that Finn had finished Luna, no one dared say, murdered, in the halls of the hospital he had once served with such compassion. Lee, summoned by the chaos, arrived with deliberate calm, her arms folded as Finn was led away in handcuffs, his face a mask of regret and defiance. The Finnegan family fractured in that moment. Some cheered Lee's ruthless pragmatism, convinced that Luna's death would spare them further tragedy. Others recoiled in horror, unable to reconcile the gentle healer they knew with the killer he had become. In the aftermath, Steffi's memorial service became a crucible for the Finnegan legacy. Willow's white lilies surrounded a portrait of Finn in his surgical scrubs, and Taylor's eulogy could barely mask the tremor in her voice as she spoke of seeking justice without sacrificing our humanity. Hope clutched Douglas to her chest as she watched her brother, in Law's face on the service bulletin, labeled in memoriam, a tragic admission that in ending Luna's life, Finn had also extinguished his own. Lee remained unbowed, standing at the front row, her posture regal, her eyes scanning the congregation for signs of gratitude rather than grief. Rigorous debates erupted on cable news and social media. Had Finn been justified in killing Luna to protect his family, or had he abandoned his oath and become the very monster he once sought to save her from? The hospital launched an internal investigation, the district attorney convened a grand jury, and the AMA threatened to revoke Finn's medical license pending criminal charges. Through it all, Lee's chilling assertion that life would be easier without Luna proved prophetic, for in the wake of Luna's slaying, the Finnegan family emerged irrevocably broken. Some segments of the public lauded Finn as a hero, a father willing to cross any line for love. Others condemned him as a vigilante unfit to bear the title of doctor or son. As Finn awaited his fate in a cell at the county jail, unable to touch Hayes or comfort Steffi's grieving spirit, he realized that in trying to end this cycle of violence, he had only fueled a new inferno of doubt, guilt, and irrevocable loss. And Lee Finnegan, her cold smile as sharp as a scalpel, watched it all unfold, convinced that the path to peace was paved in blood, unaware or uncaring that the price exacted was the very soul of her son, and the promise of the healing he once embodied. In the fierce glare of justice, family loyalty and medical ethics had collided with catastrophic force, leaving nothing but questions of whether, in the end, any life could truly be spared when vengeance demanded its due. In the sun-drenched halls of Forrester Creations and the glittering corridors of media chatter, an age-old question has once again ignited passionate debate among the bold and the beautiful die-hard viewers. Who truly holds the advantage in the perpetual love triangle with Ridge Forrester, Brooke Logan, or Taylor Hayes? On the surface, Ridge's recent engagement announcement to Taylor was meant to quiet old wounds and unite the past with a promise of lasting happiness. Instead, the echo of Ridge's heart, forever beating for the women who have defined his most turbulent years, has left both Brooke and Taylor caught in an unending cycle of longing, betrayal, and second chances. Yet while Taylor hovers on the precipice of what could be her final yes, countless Bridge fans argue that Brooke stands firmly in the catbird seat, her position strengthened by one undeniable truth: unlike Taylor, she has never truly been Ridge's second option. Brooke knows, deep in the marrow of her resilient spirit, that however many twists life throws at them, Ridge will never treat her as Plan B. Whereas Taylor, time and again, has found herself measuring her worth by Ridge's willingness to walk away and then rush back in. It is a precarious dance of hope and heartbreak, a choreography of maybe this time that leaves Taylor perennially vulnerable while Brooke, with her trademark blend of confidence and cunning, is free to step into Ridge's orbit at will, even as she fields overtures from other admirers. Indeed, social media feeds and fan forums have been ablaze with suggestions that Brooke waste no moment waiting for Ridge's inevitable return, but should instead seize the day and the offer presented by none other than Nick Marone, her erstwhile flame who has never shied from declaring his love and respect for her. Why pine for a man who can't make up his mind when you have someone who already adores you? One commenter posted, capturing the sentiment of a vocal contingent eager to see Brooke move on and live her best life. Another quipped, "Let Ridge stew in jealousy when he sees Brooke happy with Nick. If destiny really calls, it'll call on its own schedule, no matter who's waiting at the altar." The essence of these arguments hinges on Brooke's unrivaled self-assurance. She emerged from every betrayal proving that her worth could not be defined by Ridge's attention alone, whereas Taylor, however noble her intentions, seems perpetually haunted by the fear that her place in Ridge's heart is conditional, ever contingent on the ephemeral glow of his affection. And yet, even as fans marshal quotes and clip reels to champion Brooke's cause, the narrative tension persists because Brooke herself remains tethered to Ridge's magnetic pull. She may have other options, but in every whispered conversation, every longing glance, the dream of being the one true love he cannot resist looms larger than any practical choice. That tension reached a fever pitch when a recent fan poll revealed more than 70% of viewers believe Brooke's life would be richer and more vibrant if she embraced Nick's steadiness rather than holding her breath for Ridge's wavering devotion. Still, The same poll underscored that when it comes to sheer chemistry and the electric charge that has fueled decades of primetime drama, Bridge remains unrivaled. No other coupling, however sincere or stable, can match the public's enthrallment with the notion that these two are star-crossed in the truest sense. Amid this swirling maelstrom of speculation and unsolicited matchmaking, Taylor Hayes sits at its eye, the reluctant bride whose dream of familial unity now seems poised on a knife's edge. She has sacrificed fiercely for love, abandoned her own ambitions to build a life with Ridge, stood by him through every scandal and betrayal, and battled the ghosts of her insecurities when Brooke re-entered his life yet again. Taylor's critics, however, are quick to point out that devotion alone does not guarantee permanence, and they wonder aloud why she cannot allow herself the same freedom to explore other avenues of happiness, while Ridge's heart meanders through its familiar labyrinth. Even if Taylor truly believes Ridge will come back, why not find joy while she waits? One fan demanded in a heated thread, echoing the sentiment that a woman of Taylor's depth deserves more than the constant anxiety of wondering if her love is enough. As for Ridge himself, he remains an enigma, a titan of the fashion world who craves constancy in his designs, but seems perpetually unsettled in his personal life. His recent proposal to Taylor was lauded by some as a triumph of forgiveness over grudges, a testament to growth and the possibility of rewriting one's story. Yet on the very day of their joyful announcement, Ridge's lingering glances toward Brooke, caught on camera and dissected frame by frame, ignited fresh rumors that he had never fully closed the door on his first great love. That moment was all fans needed to redouble their faith in Brooke's unassailable position. Ridge may vow till death do us part to Taylor, but his heart, it seems, has bedrooms left unread, corridors left unexplored, whenever Brooke steps into the room. Meanwhile, the specter of public opinion has never been more potent. TV critics and tabloid columnists alike have weighed in, debating whether Brooke's potential pairing with Nick Marone would be a betrayal of soap opera tradition or a savvy move that speaks to modern women's refusal to linger indefinitely in romantic limbo. One headline blared, "Brooke's better bet." Why Waiting on Ridge is old-school soap, and why Nick Marone could be the partner she deserves, while another columnist countered, "In soap as in life, true love means risking everything. Taylor and Ridge's reunion could still be the story to buy." The network's PR team is surely monitoring these conversations, acutely aware that viewer engagement, positive or negative, fuels the fervor that keeps the bold and the beautiful perched at the top of the daytime ratings. In living rooms and online communities, fans continue to air the central dilemma that defines Brooke's advantage. She is free. Free to date, free to laugh, free to anger Ridge with imagined slights and then draw him back with a single look. Taylor, by contrast, remains bound by the ties of loyalty and by the heavy expectations of a public who sees her as the noble foil to Brooke's more mercurial spirit. The paradox is striking, the very traits that have made Taylor a figure of empathy. Her patience, her forgiveness, her enduring faith in Ridge also consign her to the role of the perpetual underdog in the battle for his heart. Meanwhile, Brooke's willingness to assert her worth on her own terms has paradoxically translated into narrative primacy, a curious form of empowerment that fans readily recognize even as they celebrate her more sympathetic rival. And so the dance goes on. Brooke Logan, surrounded by the promise of Nick's steadfast affection and the undeniable punch of her own self-assurance, holds the upper hand in a saga that never truly ends. Taylor Hayes, heart-bruised yet undefeated, clings to the hope that love's second, or third, or fourth chance can be more than a lofty ideal. That Ridge can evolve from a man torn between two women to a partner who understands that the measure of love is steadfast action, not the indecision of a heart buffeted by past regrets. Fans for their part will argue, hashtag by hashtag, comment by comment, until CBS signs roll across the screen. Should Brooke chase the joy waiting at her fingertips, or should she, like Taylor, Wait for the one man who has made a lifetime of loving her both the greatest blessing and the deepest curse? Only the next twist of the script will tell. Until then, the bold and the beautiful faithful will tune in each weekday, popcorn in hand, ready to see whether Brooke's advantage will turn into triumph, or whether Taylor's unwavering devotion will finally earn her the happily ever after she's long deserved. Episodes air Monday through Friday on CBS. Check your local listings for times and share your thoughts below. Will Brooke seize her moment, or is Taylor destined to prove that love's true power lies in never giving up?